Let's get it started. Dylan farted in here.
Oh, lose yourself. Poop your pants. No,
it's not going to work.
no. You're about to come
Anyway,
back.
welcome back to Mountain Murders.
I'm Dylan.
He farted himself.
And she's Heather.
He sharted.
Oh, my God.
Did you?
This feels too loose.
It's loose in the
That's
goose.
crazy.
It's loose in the caboose, Dylan.
Oh, my God.
It's like COVID-30 we've gained. Getting a little loose in the caboose.
Anything could happen right now. Oh, my God. I'm all hopped up on anti-stupid medicines.
I don't know what anti-stupid medicines
Keeps
are.
you from being stupid. You wouldn't know that because you didn't take them.
Okay, I'm lost, guys.
Okay.
I don't know what he's talking about, but that's okay. I never do.
Neither do I.
Midweek, Dylan.
Yep.
Thanksgiving week.
Yes.
Gobble, gobble, motherfuckers.
There's a lot to be thankful for this year.
Yeah, like our amazing listeners.
That is the only thing.
I'm grateful for you
I'm grateful for you.
with your shitty pants.
And the kids usually.
Sorry, guys. We're goofing. We're just goofing.
Yeah,
We're
just
just midweek goofing.
mid-podcast goofing.
That's right.
Yeah, so I hope everybody has an enjoyable Thanksgiving. It's coming, whether you like it or not.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully folks are staying home, staying safe, masking up, because this COVID is a nightmare.
It's out of control.
It really is.
It's almost like it's worse than the flu.
Hopefully, you guys are staying home. Listen to your podcast, mama. Stay home. Wash your hands. Wash your ass.
And listen to True Crime Podcasts.
It's a great week for listening to true crime podcasts, bro.
There it is.
Are you ready, Dylan? We have got a great show lined up. And I took to Instagram and asked, what are you doing with your microphone over there?
Sorry, it was right in my face.
You're stroking it. That's making me feel a little uncomfortable. I didn't consent to that.
Oh, my
I'm
God.
pretty sure your microphone didn't either.
No one asked me how I was.
Okay, so I took to Instagram and I asked the people, what do you want? And I'm here to deliver. I let them vote in a little poll on Instagram. They decided today's show.
Oh, my gosh.
The collective they decided.
Well, and they know best.
They do.
So well, hold on a second. Ain't you got some crazy?
Well, I have some true crime news. This just came out today, and it is that an Illinois woman has vanished. Authorities in Illinois are calling on the public to help find a missing 20-year-old woman. Her name is Tegan Renee Randolph, and she lives in Matherville. She missed both school and work since Friday, so she's been missing for a few days. Calls to her phone are going straight to voicemail, and the last time she was seen was dropping off her sister at school Friday morning.
Well, none of that is good.
Police are asking the public to be on the lookout for her. She's a white female. She's about 5'8" and weighs 190 pounds. Dyed blonde hair, green eyes. She drives a purple Kia Optima sedan with the Illinois plates BR77322. And if you see her, they want you to call the Mercer County Sheriff's Office. But I'm getting this from peoplemagazine.com, People True Crime. And it's just really sad. I mean, her family's probably freaking out.
Oh, my gosh.
She's a cute girl. Look at her.
Just like that, she disappears and no one knows what's going on.
That is so scary. Like, I know people who listen to Mountain Murders have heard me say that before, but just the concept of vanishing, just disappearing, freaks me out.
Unless you're an accomplished illusionist. Then at that point, you have done what you set out to do. And
right.
You're good.
Or you have a new identity lined up.
Right.
And you're like in Cabo drinking a pina colada. But I don't think that's the case here.
But for us regular folk, vanishing is not good and it's very scary.
Yeah, I just can't imagine not knowing where your kids are. Having one of your children just disappear. After running a simple task. Like dropping off their sister at school.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so hopefully we'll get some good news as far as Tegan goes. But that's one of the true crime stories bubbling this week.
Well, maybe she
Share
will
that
turn
with our
up.
listeners.
Maybe she's okay. All we can do is hope until there's further news.
Well, especially right now, the holiday season is upon us. It's extra hard.
Yeah, I'm sure it would be.
You're so handsome,
Oh,
sitting
my
over
God.
there.
I'm sad now.
Looking like a little polished turd. Are you ready to start this episode?
So what?
Get into it.
Oh, yeah.
Bibbity bobbity boo, bitch. We're going to be talking about the Bell Witch today. The Bell Witch.
You go outside and stand and wait until I call for you. I don't believe it.
What?
No?
Are you my grandmama?
Yeah.
Are you going to whip me with a wooden spoon?
You stand up, you leave the room right now, and I'll let you know when you can come back inside.
You go stand in the corner.
So that's who Instagram wanted us to talk about.
Yeah, so I gave a couple of options to our folks on Instagram, and they voted for the Bell Witch. Very popular subject, and considered one of the greatest ghost stories in the United States.
Oh, wow.
And I want to give a special shout out, super big thanks to our friend Brooklyn Emery, a lovely research assistant who helped with this story.
Yeah, she wasn't kidding around when she said she'd research some facts up for you and come up with a good story.
Thanks, Brooklyn. Yeah, she's an amazing person, and I'm so grateful that she helped with this.
Yeah, thanks.
This is a huge story.
Thanks, Brooklyn.
So much information. And she did a great job of condensing it down for the podcast. Otherwise, we would end up with a 4-part show.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Really?
And don't forget, patreon.com/Mountain Murders Podcast. Join now for exclusive content. We are about to celebrate our 2-year anniversary, Dylan. I had a moment there where I was having a brain fart.
Yeah.
Like the Dylan fart you had just before the show started.
I didn't fart, guys.
He did.
That's slander.
And that is, yeah, it is.
Slanders.
I'm lying. But see, it's very believable. People probably believe me. I'm a very believable liar.
Oh my God.
My dad said I'm a professional bullshitter.
Well, I believe that.
Yeah, it's true. I'm really good at it.
I don't believe anything you're saying.
Just do
now.
the whole straight face. Can just tell you all the lies. Yeah, 2-year anniversary coming up. So it's a great time to join Mountain Murders on Patreon because we have so much bonus content there. Episodes every week, all sorts of subject matter.
There's tons of content, and we get goofy, loosey-goosey.
Even worse than this.
Yeah, sometimes.
Yeah, I don't know what's wrong with me today.
Yeah, and well, sometimes you just gotta lean into it.
Yeah, I'm being a little silly. That's fine. Bell Witch.
Bell what?
Put on your little pointy hat.
Okay, I'm gonna get my pen and paper out.
Get your little Harry Potter wand.
Okay.
Oh, I don't know a thing about Harry Potter, but my daughter made me take the Harry Potter test or something to find out which house I'm in. And she was like, "You're going to be a Slytherin." I don't know what that means, but I was a Slytherin.
So you're in a house of snakes?
And I don't like snakes.
Oh my God.
But she did explain to me they're like the evil ones, and I'm like, well, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, that kind of lines up.
What are you? Are you like a Hufflepump or something? A Huffalump?
I don't know.
Or was that from Winnie the Pooh?
I don't think there's a heffalump in Winnie the Pooh, is there? Is that like a creature out there they're all scared of?
Did I hallucinate that in an acid fever dream or something?
Holy shit.
Okay.
A Huffalump?
Okay, so you got your Harry Potter wand.
Yeah.
You got your little circle. You drew your little salt circle, your little circle of protection. You good?
I did line my seat with salt.
I see that you're rubbing some crystals on your nipples.
I do have my crystals on my nipples.
Yeah, okay. Well, then we're ready.
And then let's do it.
Okay, Dylan. Get in the Wayback Machine because we're going way back.
Way back yonder, contraption.
Buckle up. John Bell was born in Halifax County, North Carolina in 1750, a son of William Bell and Anne Jones. In 1782, John Bell married Lucy Williams, daughter of a prominent farmer, John Williams, and he lived in Edgecombe County. Edgecombe County. I don't know why that's so awkward to say. Edgecombe County, North Carolina. The Bells bought a farm in Edgecombe and began amassing wealth and influence in the area. In 1804, John Bell and his family settled on 100 acres of land, now known as Adams, Tennessee. And actually, that is wrong. It's 1,000 acres.
Okay.
But there were some conflicting reports. I saw 300 acres, 1,000 acres, 700. I don't know.
So it's a good chunk
I'm just going to go with 1,000 because that seems like a lot.
That's a nice round number.
Of land. And this he's amassed a lot of wealth and influence in the area. And this is Adams, Tennessee, which is where our Buford Puzzler story
Oh my
was
God.
set.
It was.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're taking it back to Adams. The origins of the legendary Bell Witch is, of course, a mystery. Who knows where she came from?
Oh, so it's that old. I mean, it's been told for a long time, an old legend.
Well, since 1804, and there's just so much mystery, and you're just getting ahead of the story, Dylan.
Oh my God.
Settle down.
I want to know.
In early accounts, the spirit itself provides its origin, stating, I am a spirit from everywhere. Heaven, hell, the earth, am in the air, the houses, any place at any time, have been created millions of years.
Wow.
This is a direct quote. It's not like me with an air quote. That's like a direct quote. The disturbances began over a decade later, beginning around 1817. It started with sounds, standard paranormal fare for the most part, things like pounding on doors, bangs and slaps on the walls, eerie chain rattling.
What the hell? Where's the chains at?
Before too long, some sort of critter showed up that they couldn't identify, and it was described as like half dog, half rabbit, and definitely didn't seem natural.
Oh, well, that's rather strange.
Yeah. Well, what'd you do if you saw like a half dog, half rabbit creature? That's unsettling.
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out which half is what, and I don't know. I think it would be really freaky if you got a glimpse of something that you couldn't tell what it was.
Well, you know what, Dylan? The other night we caught a glimpse of something and we couldn't tell what it was. I thought it was a deer and you thought it was a German Shepherd.
Well, no, there was a German Shepherd chasing a deer, because if you saw the deer, I saw the shepherd. Because I was like, I saw a shepherd, and Heather's like, what the fuck? I don't see any sheep. You saw a shepherd? I was like, no, a German Shepherd. I definitely saw a German Shepherd.
Well, I saw a deer.
Well, then he was chasing the fucking deer. Had to be.
I think we just hallucinated it.
And then we saw that other thing go up the bank, and we're not sure what that was.
Maybe it was a half dog, half rabbit.
We were on the parkway.
The Blue Ridge Parkway.
We were at the highest elevation of the Blue Ridge Parkway.
To truly understand the Bell Witch, we need to look back at the summer of 1816, before the haunting started. Now, by now, the family has settled into the Tennessee farm life. John became a deacon at Red River Baptist Church, and during the summer of 1816, John bought a slave from a neighbor named Benjamin Batts. What a name. It's like an evil character in a book.
Yeah, it does sound like a English villain or some shit.
It does, right? I was thinking like Jack the Ripper, like
yeah.
and he's got like the black hat or something.
Or it could have been like
Benjamin Batts and the poor unfortunate.
Sherlock Holmes was fighting against Mr. Benjamin Batts, Dr. Benjamin Batts.
Yeah, like the evil autopsy doctor or something.
Yeah.
So the dispute was over the sale of this young slave, and as many things were back in this time, the disagreement was brought before the church and settled there. According to the church minutes, on June 1st of 1816, Mr. Bell paid Mr. Batts $100 for the purchase of a slave. After being paid, Benjamin Batts claimed the slave was worth more.
Well, I mean, for one, we're talking about people selling people like
Human
property,
life, I know.
which is horrible. But, I mean, when you make a deal, that's the deal. You can't change it after the fact. I can't sell you this, we agree on this price for this used computer, and then I give it to you and you give me the money, and then I'm like, oh, but I think it's worth more now. You owe me more money. I mean, you can't really do that. But that's what he's doing, right?
Well, I just want to let you know that all those sexual favors I provide are worth a lot more than you give me in return.
And that's a damn lie, because I give you everything.
Yeah, I know, but you need to give me more. After being paid, he claims the slave is worth more, and John tells Mr. Batts, if you try to resell this slave, you're going to owe me $150. So he's like, I want my money back and interest.
Okay, so Mr. Batts says that?
No, John
John
Bell
says that.
Yeah, John Bell's paid this guy $100, and now the man's like, oh, that's worth more. You need to pay me more.
Oh, so he's saying you can have the slave back, and if you resell the slave, you owe me my $100 plus some interest.
Yes.
Well, that's 50% interest.
Well, that's $150.
Okay.
John still has possession of the slave and the bill of sale. Well, Mr. Batts arrives at the Bell home, pays him, and takes his slave. Then Mr. Batts takes Mr. Bell before the church about this issue.
About the interest.
Right.
Okay.
He has a problem with owing the man interest. Now, initially, the church finds Mr. Bell has done nothing wrong. Mr. Batts is displeased and decides to take Mr. Bell to formal court. You got to consider, Tennessee at this time was still considered like frontier land.
Right.
It wasn't like there was a lot of established cities and that they could just pop on over to court. I mean, that was like a big deal. That's why it was settled before the church, because this is still kind of like wild and wonderful Tennessee.
So that would be typically in the community, the elders of the church, if you will kind of be like the panel that decides anything like this.
Yeah.
Or if you're unhappy with a decision by the church, you could push to go into a formal court setting, which may have to travel for.
Sir, you are a scholar and a gentleman.
Oh, thank you.
Now, upon hearing this, the church is angered by this decision, and they take the case up again. So they don't like that he's gone above and beyond the church. The church should be the final word. This is the house of God. We're people of God. We make the decisions. So they're pissed. Only this time, they end up excommunicating John Bell from the church. This time around.
So the church takes the issue back up because they're mad that Mr. Batts wanted to go into formal court. And so they're going to hammer John, like to prove a point?
Yeah.
Okay, that seems really unfair.
Well, a lot of things seemed unfair, Dylan, like burning women at the stake because they might have a third nipple or have a birthmark.
Well, they were selling human beings like property, so I'd say that's pretty unfair too.
Yeah, I should say so. So, okay, the church decides for reasons of contempt, and I can never say this word correctly. Is it usury or usury?
I think it's usury.
Usury.
Yes, it's forging, it's fraud.
Well, you guys know that I'm dingy, so we'll
it's
just
like
go.
Uttering a false document.
Right.
Like.
So he was alleged to have used contemptuous words against the church and threatened to withdraw his membership from the church. They also accused him of usury, which was the charging of the excessive interest, basically, because he felt that he was owed money on this slave deal. I mean, he was like, well, I'm not in the lending money business. His whole thing was, by taking my money, but then demanding more is like, you borrowed this money and now you want to pay it back. And I'm not a bank, so I want interest. I mean, if that's the deal.
Right.
Which, I mean, okay, so 50% is a lot of money or, a lot of interest to tack on. But
well, it sounds
I can understand that he felt like he was being used and his time was wasted.
Well, it sounds like Mr. Batts maybe sold Mr. Bell, the slave, for this price, and then maybe got a better offer or realized that he could get more money in maybe an auction or some horrible thing like that. And then he just wants the slave back instead of just sucking it up and kind of like, well, I lost money on that deal and moving on with his life. He wants the slave back. He wants to maximize his money. And then John, from Mr. Bell's perspective, I agree with him. I've been involved in this. We've talked about it for days. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I want something in return.
Yeah, imagine Mr. Bell is like Big Worm in his car with his little rollers in his hair. And he's like, you messing with my money, you mess with my emotions.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah, that's exactly what he's like.
Of course, this did not sit well with Mr. Bell or the community. Being excommunicated, especially during this time, was like the worst thing that could happen to you. Because we all know the church at this time was like the center of the community. It was everything.
So does that mean you can't go to heaven no matter what because now you've been excommunicated? I mean, it's like even bigger deal than just being thrown out of your local church, right? I mean, Catholics get excommunicated. Is that right?
Yes.
And it's some big deal. I think it basically bars your soul or spirit from entering. You know what I mean?
I know at some point in my life I've learned about excommunication, but probably have, smoked a lot of pot since then or something.
Because then you were excommunicated.
Right.
And they were like, look, you really don't belong here because you keep wearing horns and bringing a pitchfork and you're making the other parishioners uncomfortable.
That's just my casual look, Dylan. So John Bell petitioned the Red River Baptist Church for reinstatement several times because this was like a big deal in the community. This has everything. It ties up his whole position in the community. If you don't have this church, it's not good.
He's fighting for his soul.
He's not good.
His ever-living soul.
Well, and then people don't want to do business with you, or they look down upon you. They don't want to buy your wares. They don't want to do any trading with you.
Right. So he cares. He wants to get it fixed. He wants to get back in the church and move on with his life.
He wants a shiny reputation. On October 16th, 1819, a committee composed of the leadership of several area churches reviewed the matter and recommended Bell's reinstatement. Unfortunately, however, the Red River Baptist Church would still have to agree with this committee's report. And on February 19th of 1820, the church decided to formally review the committee's report, and they still refused to reinstate Bell's membership. He relentlessly tried to clear his name with the church, but he passed away on December 20th of 1820 and was never able to be reinstated.
Oh my gosh.
However, Benjamin Batts was excommunicated a few years later for stealing bacon.
A damn bacon thief?
Well, I mean, I can understand that part.
Well, I mean, I can understand being moved to steal the bacon, and I can understand someone being mad because their bacon got stole.
Bacon tastes good. Pork chops taste good.
So, yeah, that's not cool, bro. You took the bacon.
Nearly 1 year after the slave dispute with Benjamin Batts began, this is when strange things started happening around the Bell farm. And as I mentioned before, Dylan, one of those animals was very peculiar looking, the dog/rabbit.
We're going to call it a dabbit.
A dabbit.
From henceforth.
I like that. Now, the family also began hearing those knocking sounds on the doors. It turned into knocking on the outer walls of the home. The Bells claimed you could hear rodents gnawing at bedposts or stones being dropped on the wooden floors.
Okay, well, I mean, seems like some pretty loud noises.
They heard gulping and choking noises in the house. Maybe somebody just had like a big gulp from 7-Eleven.
Well, that would be rather unsettling.
It seemed that John and Betsy is their youngest daughter, that she was receiving the worst of the haunting along with John. It's even said that Betsy's hair would be pulled, she would be pinched, scratched, stuck with pins, and even beaten.
Oh, well, yeah, I guess she is getting the worst end of it.
Although the Bell family was terrified, they kept the happenings a secret for about a year, and soon things became so intolerable that John confided in his neighbor, a man named James Johnson, about the occurrences. Mr. Bell invited Mr. and Mrs. Johnson to stay at the Bell farm so they could see for themselves.
So they just want to see if anyone else notices or sees any of this or hears any of the strange happenings.
After several nights of witnessing the haunting, Mr. Johnson suggested that more people should know. Soon, a committee was formed and an investigation began. And it didn't take long for people to start coming from miles around to witness the spectacle. And before long, the entity had gained enough strength to speak.
Oh, no.
When asked its name, the entity gave many different identities. Once, it even claimed to be a neighbor named Kate Batts. And from that point forward, the spirit was known as Kate, the Bell's Witch.
Oh, my gosh.
The witch's torment continued for more than 3 years. They claimed that Kate's goal was to kill John Bell and to keep Betsy Bell from marrying a neighbor boy named Joshua Gardner. John began suffering from swelling in his throat, often complaining that he felt like he had a stick, like sort of jammed in there sideways in his throat.
Damn.
That can't feel good.
No.
He also started having spells where he would like twitch and have facial muscles start jerking around and moving.
Damn.
His face. It's said that during these spells, Kate would curse him and spat hideous threats at him. Although the Bell family was suffering, the crowds poured in. They wanted to catch a glimpse of this witch. They claimed that the entity was very intelligent. She was knowledgeable about the Bible, clairvoyant. She could tell people's past, present, and future. And she could even be in two places at once.
Damn, it's Miss Cleo.
I know, right?
Call me now, baby.
As time went on, the family was plagued by the loud pounding outside of their cabin. Betsy was attacked in her sleep. She had these encounters that would leave bruises and welts on her face. In time, the voice became louder. The family could tell the witch was quoting scripture and singing hymns. Like, I guess at first it was like a barely, like a whisper they would hear. But then it became like a very loud, booming voice.
Damn.
And over time, she began addressing family members by name. She hated John Bell and vowed to kill him.
So
she does not like him.
Well, it's funny how she's kind of concentrating on him. Of course, the youngest daughter's catching a lot of flack as well.
And the witch also spoke to Betsy and warned her multiple times against marrying Joshua Gardner, and we'll talk a bit more about that later on. In 1819, General Andrew Jackson paid a visit to the Bell homestead. The three oldest Bell sons had served under Jackson during the Battle of New Orleans, and he had heard the story of the Bell Witch. Jackson had his wagon and several men with him, and as they approached the farm, the wagon stopped and the horses couldn't pull it any further. After trying to get the wagon going for some time, Jackson allegedly said, "By the eternal, boys, it is the witch." And then a female voice was heard, and it said, "All right, General, let the wagon move on. I will see you again tonight." And then the horses were able to pull the wagon again. Jackson had planned to stay there for like the week, but after having experienced this witch's attack, they left the farm the next day. There are multiple accounts that exist of this event, but there's nothing in Jackson's personal writing that states he was there.
Yeah.
But a lot of people were like, no, he was there before he became president.
Well, it seems like he might write that down if he was doing a journal. I mean, it's a pretty wild encounter, right?
Yeah, right. So the rapping, the tapping, the rap-tap-tapping of the raven on the window continues. Voices, these physical attacks. I mean, they're just going on for some years. And as I mentioned earlier, John Bell died in 1820. He was 70 years old. And after he passed away, the family found a mysterious vial of medicine in the room where his body lay. And they noticed it had some liquid content, in the vial. So they fed it to the cat, and it immediately died.
Okay.
Then the witch's voice took credit for the bells for John's death. The witch reportedly laughed and sang during his funeral. They buried him on the farm, and the witch was like chuckling and singing like celebratory, like ding dong, John Bell's dead.
So happy that John's dead. Well, that must be a pretty interesting funeral. If you're
Right?
Everybody's sad for him having passed, and then there's this disembodied voice just really carrying on about how glad she is he's dead.
I know. I thought that was just like one of my relatives. Like I would hear the pop top on like the Miller Lite, and you hear somebody laugh and be like, "That son of a bitch! I'm glad he's dead. Play some Freebird, woo!"
Play
in the back row, and then you're like, "Aunt Mildred, you have to go home."
Play in a Cotter DeVeter, man.
Yeah. So a year later, the voice warned Lucy Bell, John's widow, that she would return for more haunting in 7 years. Like this voice is like, "I'm coming back. I'll be back." And 7 years later, which would have been 1828, the manifestation made her last reported appearance. And in a discussion with John Bell Jr., this thing predicted the Civil War.
Oh, well.
Like, beware, a great war comes.
Beware, brother will fight brother. Families will be torn asunder. by the politics of the day.
Yeah, I couldn't think of anything clever to say. Sorry.
Oh,
There is
that's
some
close.
speculation that the manifestations may have been a ruse to break up the relationship between Betsy Bell and her fiance, Joshua Gardner. The witch was strongly opposed to this marriage, and Betsy did end their relationship in 1821 out of pure fright.
Well, I guess so.
In 1824, she went on to marry her school teacher, a creeper named Richard Powell.
Did he turn out to be an asshole?
Well, I say this because he was just like a lot older than her. Powell had known the family for a long time, and some think that he could have somehow been responsible for these manifestations.
Well, I mean, that's a pretty long play to create a ghost or a witch and continually, feed the narrative and do all these sounds and stuff. I mean, how much do you want to marry this person? This little girl you've had your eye on since she has grown up.
Right. Well, Powell had been there for a long time. He'd been teaching in that area since 1815 and immediately developed this liking for Betsy. And I mean, he's like a grown man and she's a kid. Creepy.
Well, it was different times.
Well, I guess,
But it's still gross.
Yeah.
I mean, even back in those days, could you imagine being some young girl?
Like 14. And it would be like your daughter having a man your age be like, hey, baby.
Oh, no.
That's creepy.
No, I'm going to hit him in his teeth.
Please do.
And kick him in the nuts. Some bitch.
Powell becomes friends with Betsy's parents. He's a frequent visitor at the Bell home. And it wasn't long after all of those noises began that his wife died. And that same year, she ends her engagement to Gardner. And then next thing you know, they're together.
So her parents don't have a problem with this?
I guess not.
Just normal?
They're like, honey, bring over your 40-year-old beau. Even though you're like 14.
Now, did they monetize the fact that it was so popular and people came and such? Because if they did, I would think, well, they could be doing this as a hoax to keep making money.
Well, no, that doesn't happen just yet. So a major part of the story that can't be overlooked is the cave that's located on the property, the Bell Farm. There were many unusual things that took place around this area. One of the most significant stories actually involved the Bell's sons who were playing in the cave. And it said that one of the boys somehow got lodged or like trapped in this cave. His head got stuck between two rocks.
Well, that would not be good.
Yeah, well, why are you putting your head between some rocks again?
Well, he had to stuck it there.
And I know, right? Kids. The boy yelled for help, and he had a candle that burned out, and then suddenly the cave lit up, and these two invisible hands pulled the boy's legs until his head was freed.
Damn.
The entity then dragged the boy all the way to the entrance of the cave. And when the boy told his story, he claimed Kate is the one who saved him. And the cave became known as the Bell Witch Cave. Now, it was discovered that on the bluff above the cave's entrance, there is an ancient Indian burial ground. And it dates back over 1,000 years. Like
I
before.
knew it.
You
Just
did?
like in Pet Cemetery. The ground, the earth is sour. Don't you dare bury your loved ones here expecting them to come back normal because they're going to be crazy.
Okay. Well, I don't think we can overlook that fact. And those strange animals that were being seen, there's the legend of the skinwalkers, which is often connected to Native American history.
It's a Wendigo.
So some people think that the spirit inhabiting the cave kind of took up residency there after the old well house was torn down, where they believe maybe the witch was before. And there is a tour guide at the cave who has suggested that the natives did rituals inside the cave, and that could have led to like a curse on the land.
Oh, there you
So
go.
inside the cave today, there's a part of the old cabin chimney set as a stone. There is some iron kettle and an empty tomb. And I guess the tomb used to hold the remains of a 12-year-old girl that was a native girl. She had allegedly been shot in the back, I presume by settlers.
Settlers, man. Settlers ruined a lot of good stuff.
And in the 20th century, her body was eventually shipped back to the Bell farm by a road crew so that she could be laid to rest with her ancestors. And according to the new owners, Chris and Walter Kirby, the girl's bones have been stolen over the years.
Oh, just like someone would take a bone here, a bone there kind of thing?
And now that tomb lies empty.
Would you take a bone?
No.
I would just leave her. I would leave her, as much as I like bones, I would leave someone's remains alone.
Yeah, I'm going to leave somebody's bones where they are.
Yeah. Now, if someone's already took the bones and then I acquire the bones, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that.
So the tomb is empty now, and in 2008, the Bell Witch Cave was placed on the National Historic Registry.
Nice.
The curious thing about Kate Batts is that it is said on her deathbed, she vowed to haunt John Bell and his descendants. However, that has been proven incorrect because Kate Batts actually died like 23 years after John Bell.
Oh, so that wouldn't work out.
No. And there was a rumor that Kate had some sort of bad land deal with John Bell, but there doesn't seem to be any historical record of that transaction. And one of the closest relations that can be found between Kate Batts and John Bell is through her husband. Now, this is where things get interesting. In 1810, Kate, Frederick Batts, and their 5 children made the journey from North Carolina and moved to the Red River Settlement in 1811. Now, their family was poor compared to the other residents there. And like John Bell was kind of considered a wealthy guy. This is their neighbors. They don't have as much money. And Kate had to run the farm, which was unusual at this time to have a woman in charge. But she's making all the decisions. She's running the farm. And she's been described as a pretty stout lady.
Huh.
So she would be out there plowing with the best of them. Because her husband, Frederick, had been paralyzed, Kate would occasionally attend the Red River Baptist Church, but she never became a member. And Frederick's brother lived in the settlement, and guess who he was? Benjamin Batts.
Well, there you go.
Now, their brother, Jeremiah Batts, was married to Lucy Bell's sister, Elizabeth. So these people are like all interconnected.
Well, maybe you shouldn't have tried to shit them in the first place.
Okay.
Well, I'm saying we could have saved all this bullshit.
A genealogy report from North Carolina suggests that Kate was the daughter of John Williams Jr., which is Lucy's brother, and claims were made that Kate practiced black magic, but there's never been any definitive proof. Kate would often be seen making eyes and talking privately with Richard Powell, who would later marry Betsy Bell. Betsy and Richard would eventually settle in Cedar Hill and raise 8 children. Sadly, only 4 of them would make it to adulthood. And although there is no proof, rumors began to spread that Betsy made up the stories of the Bell Witch to cover up abuse she was receiving from her father.
Well, I'm sure there's all kinds of rumors and all kinds of things been said about who did what and all that mess.
In 1849, the Saturday Evening Post published the first commercial account of the Bell Witch. In the article, Betsy was implicated as the culprit. This infuriated Betsy, and she threatened legal action if they didn't retract the article. So they had to issue an apology later on. And in 1874, Betsy's health was failing, and she moved to Mississippi, where she lived with her daughter. And even in old age, Betsy was terrified to sleep alone.
Well, that says something, I guess.
She refused to talk about Kate to anyone outside of the family. And just a few days before the 72nd anniversary of the bad slave deal, Betsy Powell passed away, and that was July 11th, 1888.
Oh, I thought you said that like they were celebrating the bad slave deal, but it's just 72 years later.
Right. It's
she
like
passed
almost exactly to the date.
Okay.
There are 3 major theories in the story. So the most, I guess, prominent theory being that Kate was this magical witch that cursed John Bell and his land, all while torturing Betsy until she broke off her engagement, which, if this is true, then maybe she did it as a revenge for her brother-in-law, Benjamin, and so she could help Richard Powell win Betsy's hand in marriage. Now, the second theory is that Betsy was actually being abused by someone in the Bell home. And this doesn't make a lot of sense because there were so many witnesses having experiences on the property.
Well, yeah, I mean, it seems like, of course, you could fake some of this stuff, but I mean, it seems like some people had some pretty strong occurrences or experienced some pretty weird stuff.
Unless the popularity of these stories kind of created some sort of hysteria.
Well, there's that.
Which
like
is possible.
A mass hysteria or some type. Yeah, if you really want something or really expect something to happen, every little thing that happens, the wind blows or, your eyes, you see shadows a certain way. So, I mean, that could happen. That's a good idea.
The last theory is that the Native American burial ground actually did leave the land cursed. And since John Bell purchased the land, somehow the curse attached to him and his family.
Well, there you go.
The Bell Witch story, of course, considered one of the greatest scary stories in America. It's been turned into a play called Spirit by David Alford. There's been a book, Little Sister Death, and a couple of movies. Probably the most famous or most known is An American Haunting, which had Donald Sutherland and Sissy Spacek.
Oh, yeah, I've never seen that one.
Came out in the mid-2000s or something.
Oh, there's a lot of ghost movies came out right there in a row.
It's not a very good movie.
Oh, okay.
Well, I didn't think it was very
House on Haunted Hill was good. Yeah?
That movie came out, I think, in 99.
Well, and what about 13 Ghosts? I tried to get you to watch that the other night, and you wouldn't. But they was scary ghosts.
Well, you can tour the cave and the cabin on the Bell property, and the tour guides will give you a lot of creepy details that are associated with the legend. So you can always go to bellwitchcave.com to find out more about visiting. And I feel like we need to put this on our bucket list. We got to go.
I think we might go. It's close enough to us to make a trip out of it.
Sounds like it'd be really fun.
Yeah, I think it'd be interesting. Nice history. An old legend like that.
Yeah, I feel like if someone listens to this episode that doesn't normally listen to Mountain Murders, they're going to be like, what the fuck is wrong with these people?
Yeah.
I'm just feeling a little goofy, guys. It's kind of late.
Yeah, it's late.
It's been a long day.
Yeah, and sometimes we're just not on. But we're trying.
Oh, I'm on.
Oh.
I'm on, baby. I'm just not on, storytelling.
I got something you can get on.
I'm just a little...
Oh, these syllables.
I'm just feeling a little goofy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
mean, if we were having a karaoke tap dance party, I am on. But trying to be serious and talk about something, I'm like, la la la, can't read, ADD. Sorry.
It happens.
I apologize ahead of time.
It's not the first time, and it will not be the
really
last.
Ahead of time. I apologize after the fact. There we go.
Okay, breaking news. Heather's on.
Yes, but not on for Mountain Murders Offbeat.
Oh
I apologize.
Jeez Louise.
So forgive me, but at least kind of gave you a story, right?
You did.
And you did.
Yeah, and I did, and I didn't help a lot because I'm stupid. But all we can do is try. And so the Bell Witch is a very interesting story, very old legend.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably one of the earliest hauntings, really, if you think about the history of the United States. I mean, it started in the early 1800s, so.
Makes me wonder what was going on there. If it was some kind of elaborate hoax, some mass hysteria, just pure rumors, rumor mill, people believing or being told what they want to hear kind of thing.
Well, here's my thing. And I'm not discounting that there could have potentially been some paranormal activity on the Bell farm, but how is it that you would have an entity that was so strong and condensed for just a few years on this specific piece of property, but we've never been able to recreate that experience anywhere else in the world?
Well, I mean, yeah.
And capture it on film or audio or whatever.
My God, on those ghost shows, they capture something every time.
Shh. Did you hear that?
What was that?
Whoa. What was that? I love those ghost shows, though. They're so cheesy.
You run down there and check and see if anybody's down that long hallway. There's nobody?
Something touched me.
Oh, my God. Something used my debit card. Did you guys buy?
That was me.
Did you guys order Chinese takeout? Oh my God.
The ghost got DoorDash, man.
Shit.
The ghost was Grubhubbing.
So yeah.
Okay.
All right. And that's the Bell Witch.
That's the Bell Witch.
Oh,
but
yeah,
we are going to be back this weekend with an amazing story. Awesome true crime story. I'm going to guess that most of you have never heard this case, but I think it's pretty groovy.
Ooh, that sounds interesting.
Yeah, just like the time period, the story, like everything about it is just good, Dylan.
Oh my gosh, I can't wait to hear it.
And sad, but it's a good story. So we'll be back this weekend. Make sure you check out Mountain Murders. And of course, Offbeat drops on Wednesdays. We appreciate you tuning in.
Yep, and enjoy your happy holiday.
Happy Thanksgiving, guys.